and welcome everyone to this episode of Build Your Growth Mindset. I'm really excited today to have Bayo to talk to us about his background, his career, and building a growth mindset. So just to introduce myself, my name is Igoh Ekua Cant, and I am a coach, and I have written this book, Be Number One Cheerleader, that's coming out in October. Woo, I'm really excited about that. And that book really takes the journey of the entrepreneurial path, and it basically helps us to understand how we can, pitch ourselves, how we can fight fear, and how we can, learn to adopt a growth mindset. So, without further ado, I'd like to introduce Bayo. Bayo, how are you doing?
Good. Good evening, Ekua. Thank you for bringing me onto your platform. A pleasure and a privilege.
Awesome. So, Bayo, just to get us warmed up and ask a nice, easy question. So, Bayo, I'd love to know, tell us about your story, where are you from, what do you do, and why do you do it?
Okay, very topical. Second generation Nigerian. My parents are from Nigeria, 64, 66, via Germany, France, into the UK. I myself, born in 68, South Londoner, born and bred, even though I support the Arsenal, but they originated from Woolwich Arsenal. So you've got to put that in all the time. I went to predominantly white male schools. My first secondary school was a Roman Catholic school, Salesian College, the Order of St. Don Bosco, and 60% of the teaching staff, or probably 50, but 60% I would say, were priests. So you could hazard a guess as to what my upbringing was. Very Catholic. My father and my mother were very Christian, very Catholic. Not to say they all practice it, but it is what it is. But when you're 11, 12, 13, and you're walking around the school, we had something called an ambulacrum, which was a covered walk that led the new school to the old school. And the old school was like one of those sort of, pristine, villagey type wood, rock and stone. And the other was all modern contracts. In Battersea, which again is interesting, in the 60s and 70s, or for me in the 70s and the 80s. So white, predominantly male school, great school, loved it. And there's a bit about my life, which I won't go into much detail, but my schooling was very important for me because of my background and because of my family situation. But it was great. That was great. My secondary school was great. I didn't go to sixth form college because they closed it down. So Keith Joseph, 1979 with Margaret Thatcher. Again, a bit of background. I won't go into the history of that, but it was a strange time. Thatcher just come on board, fair play to her. But the politics and the nuances that preceded it and were to follow meant people of my ilk were going to be given opportunities that may not have been given to us before. So my old man wanted me to be a doctor. That wasn't going to happen. But you know what Nigerians are like. You're going to be a doctor or a lawyer or a solicitor. So I said, look, mate, I can't be a doctor. I don't like blood. But I've got a gift of the gab. I'm pretty intelligent. Why don't I be a lawyer? He's okay. Go on, do study that. So I did biology, chemistry, maths, and English, and I got a B and an E and a couple of U's. So science, doctor out the window. Went to a sixth form, FE college actually. And although I was born and bred in Brixton, lived through riots, lived with a few boys off a few bad estates, been a bit of a bad boy myself, I was in a bit of a bubble because at school, the schooling I had was very nurtured, very bringing you sort of cosseted. We got fights, obviously, in Battersea. But when I went to my FE college in Wandsworth, that's when I realized the world was a bigger place. That's when I realized that there were minds as smart or brighter than me, but unfortunately, we weren't given opportunities other people would be given. And I only say that because then I went to university or universities, and that's when you saw the difference. That's when you saw, wow, man, this guy's clever, this guy's rich, this guy's different, this guy's the same. And it opened my mind to a lot. So let's fast forward because I'm going on a bit. Studied law, wanted to go into be a lawyer in a city firm, had the interviews for them all, but it didn't happen. My first sort of job was with the Hammersmith and Fulham Law Centre, but I still didn't get articles. I then applied for a job as an admin assistant in the London Borough of Lambeth, 1993. That was my baptism of fire, University of Life. I was in housing up until about 2016, where I then made my third iteration, my third pivot, my third change, and said, you know what? I'm not going to become a CEO. of a housing organization.
Mm-hmm.
It ain't gonna happen for me for whatever reason, isms, real, imagined, or perceived. But I think I might become a mentor or a
Okay.
coach
Yeah.
and run it as a practice or as a business. Now, as your book will show with the various chapters, you need to go for a lot of changes to take that leap of faith.
Yeah.
I didn't do it the right way. That's the truth. I did it because I believed that that's what I wanted to do. That's where I was going to go. And coaching and mentoring came about really because my exit strategy, my last job, I was given a coach. I had started using a coach in 2003, Charlotta Hughes, who's still a mentor and a great resource for me. And at that time, the chief executive of a housing association said, "You guys are great managers. You really know your stuff well, operationally, strategically, but I want to get leaders out of you." And for that to happen, he put us on a GOBA training course, customer care, customer experience. He then said, "I want you to be coached. Be honest, giggles, laughs, coach. We don't want to play football. We don't play tennis." Then she came on board, and the rest, as I say, is history. I got the buzz then. It transformed how I managed at work, I think, definitely. Then I started to think about how can I better myself as a coach or a mentor in my day job as a housing bod. And housing, as you may appreciate, social housing. I've worked in Lambeth, Wandsworth. I've worked in North London and Islington. I've worked for housing associations. So I meet a lot of people. As I said, I've been to universities. And when I was doing a course in housing management and practice, the then lecturer, great lecturer now, is a doctor, whatever he is, said, "You are actually working in the poverty industry." And I took affront to that. But he said, "Calm down, Bayo, but look at the stats. 60% of the people you work with and for who live in your properties are on some form of benefit. If it's not full benefit, housing benefit, to be the universal credit, they're on some benefit. They're in need of support that society generally doesn't need." And it got me thinking about the way we work and way we interact. And mentoring and coaching, specifically coaching, got me to think outside the bubble, particularly around the isms that existed. And they do exist today, quite topical: Black Lives Matter, equality and diversity, this, that, and yeah. They exist all the time. But as a coach or being coached, I was able to take myself out of my own bubble and look at what it is I moved forward. So as I say, 2016, was not going to be a CEO, was not going to be a director permanently. A few rugs pulled under myself, a few mistakes made by myself. But I said, you know what? I'll run my own coaching and mentoring practice. I kicked that off in 2016, and that's what I've been doing since. How successful I am, to be discussed.
Okay, excellent. Wow. So you've already given us whistle stop tour of some of your career highlights, but I'd just like to ask you, what do you think is particular, story that you'd like to share about your career that you think has a lesson for us all?
Well, life is about changes. Life is about moving from A to B, sometimes forced changes, sometimes preempted strike changes. Are you just envisage that's where you're going to go? But it's about how you embrace it, how you engage it. And that is often determined by the tools you have around you, the resources you have around you. And so the changes I've made in work, I loved housing, I still do. I still receive information around housing. I still speak to people in the world of housing. I coach and mentor some people in housing. And it is an area of work which is so fundamental to how we live. If you think about what you need in this world, it's shelter, food, and water. And so housing has a real passionate thing for me. Law, in reflection, could I have been a great lawyer? I think so. One of my best mates is a silk, and I still look at him and I think I could do better than you, but it went to be. Do I cry about it? Not now. In fact, never. Do I think about it? Only because it then sets me to think about where and how I've moved on in life and how successful I feel I am in life today. For success, I think you should only measure yourself. Others will measure you, others will compare you, but it's down to you. Because a satisfied life really is almost better than a successful life, because the successes that you have are measured by the actions that you take and that you appreciate. Others may not do so. Others aren't in the same moment as you. And as you know, as a coach, it's about being in that moment. It's about being able to say to yourself, I need to grow. I'm not going to be fixed. I'm not going to be stood still. I need to grow. And in order to grow, you do have to take some risks. And I used to be risk averse. And so now it is what it is. You just take the risk in order to move forward.
Nice. Well, before I ask my next question, I'm going to ask, I thought let's bubble out whilst you were talking, which was about defining success on your own terms. And I want to ask you, like, how can people be encouraged to think about success on their own terms and by their own yardstick? Because I think it's often a problem where people want success that is not solely about their vision, about them, and about their own, like, happiness and their own sort of fulfillment. It's more driven by external factors.
Definitely. I'm going to read you a quote, please, if you don't mind.
Yes.
Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. That's Winston Churchill. So for me, O levels, I did well. I could have done better. A levels, I did badly. Then I did very well. I could have done better. My first degree, I did well. Could have done better. My first master's, did okay. Should have done better. My second master's, kicked ass. Couldn't do no better. And I've sat down with some friends, and I remember the first time when I failed my A levels, 1986, 87, sitting in our local pub at the time, the Landor, telling my mates who had no aspirations, no interest in education, crying my eyes out, saying, I'm out. I go, mate, don't worry. Part 2, go back. Just make sure you don't party as hard as you did last time, and you'll be all right. And it's true, because every time you do these qualifications, these entry things, who asks me about what I've got as a coach? I'm accredited, I've taken my coaching courses, etc. But no one asks me about my A levels. No one asks me about my MA. So the quality of your life is based on your own personal experiences and knowledge. That is my measure of success. My measure of success is, what have I set myself as a goal today, tomorrow, next week? How are my children getting on? How's my missus getting on? How's my mum getting on? How's my siblings getting on? How are my friends getting on? If they're all right, Jack, then I'm all right, Jack. But obviously, culture and society does have a part to play in terms of, physical successes, your house, your car, the clothes you put on. There's nothing wrong with that. That exists. We're human. But at a deeper level, when you've done well, and when you've not done well. That's the measure of success for me.
Yeah, I think that's really helpful to discuss and for people to hear more often, because I think that's one of the messages that often gets lost in this whole, like, what is success? How do you define it? And, I think a lot of people are starting to realize they should stay in their own lane, but then they haven't got to the second part, which is success by your own yardstick as well, which we have, quite rightly told people, to think more about that. But also, yes, I get the whole point where, we talk about the physical things, the manifestations that people look for typically. But, those things don't necessarily make someone inside, feel like they are fulfilled and they are doing what they're meant to be doing. Yes, clearly money is a part of it, but that's not all of it. And as we know, by Steve Jobs, he was a very rich man. And, he has a lot to say about, how he was fulfilled in his life, and what happened at the end. He had all this money, and then, unfortunately, he did die from illness. And you just,
It takes a lot for us to understand and package our existence, our journeys, and what we want and where we go. Don't want to get too deep and philosophical, because my boys on the streets wouldn't take that on board. I just want to know, what bread are they putting on the table sometimes, or what holiday they're going to go to, or what schools are their children going to go to. And that's success. I'm not going to divert, but I'm just going to give an example. I run some employability days at some schools, and I like to bring my friends to these employability days, because one's a silk, one's a cab driver, one's a plumber, one's a footballer, one's a lawyer, one's whatever. But when people actually see these people, youngsters, I mean, they get a vision of what they can be as well. It's not too far away. But as your book alludes to, there's a lot of hard work that's required. There's a lot of research that's required. There's a lot of discipline that's required. And so therefore, the route you take will determine what you need to bring to it in order to be successful in it. I could never be a surgeon, because there was no way I was going to rip up someone's body and have all that blood splatter over me. Ain't happening. However, talking to someone, listening to someone, helping them get from A to B, yeah, that works for me. That works for me a lot.
Nice. Okay. Well, I mean, we know, well, you haven't specifically said, but I'm just going to let everyone know that you have held a lot of leadership roles in the past and continue to do so. So let's talk a little bit about leadership. You know, what do you think makes a good leader?
The people that they're supposedly leading, and their belief that they're not doing it because they're a leader, but they're doing it for the benefit of themselves and the people that they're leading. That, to me, is the quality of a leader. I mean, I'm looking at some of my books up there, and I'm looking at some of them. Margaret Thatcher, for example, I mentioned her earlier on. At the time, didn't really understand her, did government politics A level, then got involved in the old politics thing. But she was a leader, charismatic, thoughtful, personable, had a vision, had her values, and sold them to people who bought into them. So leadership is about how do you engage with someone, enable them and empower them to believe that you are part of a team moving in the same direction. Remember, leaders, there's leaders all over the shop. And I had a really good presentation for women. My mum's a leader. My sisters are leaders. If not for them, I wouldn't be who I am, without a shadow of a doubt. And in this house, the leader of the house is my missus, because there are things that she can do I would never be able to do. There's things that I can do. So leadership for me is about knowing what you're good at, and more importantly, knowing what you're not good at and bringing somebody on board to do it, but to do it with you, for you, and them in order to move forward. That's leadership. Bit of a round, twisted way of leadership, but Colin Powell's got a brilliant quote about leadership. It's saying, if you're going to take somebody to war, do so knowing that that's what they want to do for themselves and for you. So the important part is for themselves and for you. If you're doing it just to appease them, or you're doing it just to get your pay packet, you're not leading anyone. If they're doing it for themselves and for you, I think that's leadership.
Nice. And let's go back to basics a little bit with this whole leadership trail of thought. So if I am someone who is an aspiring leader, you know, what skills would you say that I need to try and, be self-aware about, but also build to make myself, a better leader?
Yeah. Know yourself, SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats, simples, empathy, drive, ambition. These are all the good buzzwords, but in reality, 1 or 2, 3 things. One, why are you asking someone to do it? Do you understand why it's being asked to be done? Are you providing them the right resources, time, and ability to do it? Even if you can't, have you provided them the ability to do it? 2, are you prepared to reward them if they're successful and if they're not successful? It's no good just beating them over the head. You need to create that environment where failure, risk is something to be learned and got over with. And 3, enjoy it. Yeah, enjoy it. Take the rough with the smooth. It's hard. Being a leader is a lonely thing sometimes because people misconceive what leadership is. You do, they do. So it can be lonely. But to get over that lonely, you bring people around you, collaborations, partnerships, a mentor, a coach, a colleague, a friend, a spouse, a partner, your team. Because if they really believe that you're working together as a team, leadership becomes relatively more straightforward than just leading because you've been given the title, the position, or the money.
Mm-hmm. So now I'm going to ask you a follow-up question to the leadership dilemma. So let's imagine you have built the skills, you've climbed, and you're now a leader. Let's think about listening skills and leadership and getting feedback. How do you suggest, as someone who is a new leader, that they invite feedback and that they work on being okay with hearing both the good and the bad?
Good. So remember I talked about that CEO who said you're great managers, but we want you to be leaders? Because great managers don't listen. They just tell you what to do. They know what needs to be done. They know how it needs to be done. Get on and do it. And then they measure and manage the KPIs, the stats and stuff. A leader would listen to Q and say, well, That's a great idea, but could we? Shall we? Have we thought about could? And then the leader sits back and says, you know what? That sounds interesting. That makes sense. That's different to what I've been used to. Let's see where it takes us. That's the difference for me between being a manager and a leader. A great manager could become a great leader, and a better leader will be able to manage better. I just made that one up. I'm going to write that down later. It's a good one. I think that's a good one. But you see where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
It's like, as he said to us, you're great managers, but I need you to be leaders. I need you to not be here and the work is being done. And a classic example of that was when we had a deadline, our neighborhood, 3,000 units we managed, I had 37 staff, and we were behind time. On Friday, we were having a staff party. Cowboys and Indians, actually, staff party.
Right.
Monday, we hadn't met target. Tuesday, we hadn't met target. Wednesday, we hadn't met target. I was drawing us all in, doing it myself. To the point, out of the 26 of us, 4 of us didn't make the party. We handed the stuff in. On the Monday, my then director said, fair play, well done, but you've made the biggest mistake in your life. You have not shown leadership. All you've done is try to manage the situation. Showing leadership would have been you taking a decision not to do it, let everyone go and party, or you should have had resources in place a long time ago to meet that deadline. But the fact that you didn't do that and kept your people working to the nth hour meant you didn't show leadership. And that stuck with me. That stuck with me in terms of you can't do it all. You need to delegate. You need to plan in advance. You need to get your resources in place, etc., etc. That's leadership.
Nice.
Lessons learned.
Excellent. Well, this builds into a beautiful segue to talk about failure, and how you feel about failure. Yeah, let's start with that one.
A lovely chapter. I think that's chapter 4 in your book.
Yeah.
Actually. It is chapter 4. I thought so. Yeah, because I got hung up on failure for a long time, you know. Didn't use the word failure, to be fair, but I can give you a first example. I was 10 years of age, playing for Clapham Little League in Clapham, on the, not the AstroTurf, on the sort of, it's another turf, but it's not grass anyway.
Yeah.
It was a cup final, Greens versus the Ambers, and we lost 2-1. Last minute goal, boom. I'm a 10-year-old, crying my eyes out. Oh my God, where
Yeah.
you know, But do you know how many cup finals I've played in and won since then? How many cup finals Arsenal have played in and won and lost since then? I've given you my potted history of my travels as a student, my travels as an employee, my travels as a business owner, my travels as in partnerships with people, my travels as having been a parent. Failure is just something for that moment in time. It becomes a problem if you let it hang around and you do not learn from it. Once you've taken on board what happened, how it happened, when it happened, and you've now got a plan to not make that happen again, it's in a moment. It's woo, puff a puff. I think you've got an expression in your book where it's there and it's not there. It's not, you know, it's not tangible. Of course, it can be tangible in terms of people have made some big mistakes that have led to catastrophes, fatalities, etc., etc. That happen in that moment. What you then need to do is work out what to do best moving forward. And that does become philosophical. That does become so extra in tangential in terms of discussions, particularly what's going on. I look at my hometown, well, my parents' hometown of Nigeria, the stuff that's going on there now, the mistakes that are being made, the failures that are being made, and they're a reoccurring theme because people have not stood back and said, how can we do something slightly different to better us all? But we don't. We keep making the same mistakes. And I was going to mention a particular example, but I won't because it's too touchy, it's raw, it's happening now. But I think the failures that we have are those there because we fail to embrace the change and or learn from the mistakes in order to move forward. So I'm scared of failure, of course. But you know what? Prior planning prevents poor performance. If I set my stall right, I shouldn't really fail, you know? And also decision making becomes better once you start to manage the risk and become less risk averse. Look at the bigger picture.
But Bear, I'm gonna have to say it to all my friends out there. Failure stings. It hurts. You know,
It does. Of
it's
course
not
it does.
easy to move forward. Like you want to be in, as I describe in the book, have that pity party and be like in there for like weeks and days and be like, you know what, woe is me. I'm so sad. You know, this is so bad. This is the end of the world. All that crap. You know, and then only when you've had a moment to like be like, okay, fine, this wasn't total. Can you then go forward to think about what did I actually learn? Did anything actually go right? And you know, how can I move forward? So let's dig into the how can I make steps to move forward if I'm a person who has been in this trap of like, it's just so bad, I just can't do anything, I can't see past the thing.
Definitely. I know you're a great, you're a poet, you're a writer, you're established, it's great. And I know you probably like the great Maya Angelou. So if I can just give you another quote, please. Do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better. And that philosophy in itself, that statement suggests that, you know what, you can't do it all. You're human. You're not going to run as fast as Bolt. You're not going to be beating Manchester City, Man United week in and week out. You're not going to get your business plans spot on straight away. But the moment you do, don't sit on your laurels, grow. You know, growth mindset, grow. Think of how you're going to get further. And if it doesn't happen and you have that failure, cry about it. Of course you cry about it. Let the emotions out. But then you say to yourself, whoa, what comes next? You know, man didn't come out the cave. If he did, let's say, I'm just going to use that anecdote. He didn't come out the cave and just said, you know what, let's run back in straight away. We're too curious. We're too interested. We're interested into knowing what makes us tick. And it's only because we grow. The human body is there to grow. We grow every day. Skin comes off, things happen, we heal. We're just growing all the time. If we didn't, you know what happens after that.
Yeah, wow. So now, I love it, Bear, how we think alike here with the beautiful segue into growth mindset. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about what does that mean to you and how do you think you can, you know, practice that effectively as a person who's new to that?
Growth mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice concept. Probably like you, I've got all the theoretical concepts in my head, but I'm a bit more of a practical person. And growth mindset for me is around, you know, not being embarrassed by the failures that you've encountered. Of course, you're going to be embarrassed for a few seconds. It's like natural, isn't it? You know?
Yeah.
As you get older, more experience, more knowledge, more partners, more colleagues, more resources to understand how and why you did that. You then say to yourself, okay, what can I do next? Better next time, as Maya Angelou said, as Winston Churchill said. What do I need to do? Now, importantly, what's the goal? What's my ambition? What's my drive? Why am I getting up in the morning? Why am I having 3 kids? Why am I busting my gut to manage this business? Why am I managing anything? Why do I want to run a marathon? Why do I train to run a marathon? Why do I ride a bike? Those goals are set for you to grow. You can't run a marathon by just waking up the next day and going, boom, I'm running a marathon. Somebody can, I reckon. Right now, I don't know who can. Yeah. No, they do exist. These type of things do exist. I'll give you another quote from Mr. Arsene Wenger. But anyway, the idea is you put yourself through pain in order to achieve the goal. You put yourself through knowledge and experience in order to achieve the goal. You bring to your party collaborators, partners, mentors, coaches to achieve the goal. Then you say to yourself, goal achieved, what next? As you say in your book, goal achieved, what next? Now, for some people, I'm okay, Jack. For others who are driven and got all this going on, they want more and more. Fair play to them. But if you haven't got the goal and you do not take action, it's only a dream. And that's, for me, is the fundamental difference of growth mindset. Turning that dream into reality by taking action. And that action is born by your knowledge, your experience, your partnerships, your collaborations, your risk averseness, your risk management, your ability to handle failure or not. But it's taking action that turns that dream into reality.
Okay, let me ask you a question then. So do you think as failure as just total, or do you think as just like, you know, as a stepping stone? Like in your mind, what do you think about it?
not total, is it? Look at me, I'm still here, really.
Of course not.
um, it's not a passing phase, because I can still remember my O-level, AO level maths. And the reason I got a B, apparently, is I didn't see the last page of the paper. And if I'd got that last page and got the answer, even 1 point, I would have got an A. So it's not a failure that is going to be lasting. It's a failure that I'm just going to say, yeah, what can I learn from it? You know, going for a bit of a bad patch with your partner, boom, boom, boom. What are you going to do to rectify it? It's not a lasting. If it is lasting, you then move on. Things happen, things change. No, so I don't see failure as lasting. It is, and it does exist. It's how and what resources you have to manage it to move forward, I believe.
But have you always thought this though?
No.
Yeah. This is what I'm trying to get to. Can you tell us the journey about how you got there? Because this is where a lot of problems start, with people trying to understand their relationship with failure, and how they go from, oh my God, it's devastating and total, and I just don't want to deal with it, to, okay, that's very uncomfortable, but actually I'm ready to accept it and actually make a plan to do something different next time, to the next time it comes on, okay, it was a bit hard, but you know, I learned something. So for you, how did you make that transition? Yeah.
The story of me playing football when I was 10, didn't win. I've lost a lot of stuff in my life, in my time, but I'm still here. I've gained a lot more stuff. That's probably why I'm still here. If I was to say what was a really pivotal moment in my life, and it happened to many people, sad story, it is true, but my father's death, 2003, 24th of December. Great geezer. We didn't get on at the time. We didn't really know each other at the time. There's a bit of my life which I haven't shared with people, but for various reasons, it was what it was. We didn't have our first pint of lager until I was about 35, 36, 37. Don't get me wrong, Nigerians love to party. I used to go to parties with him, but it was at a distance. You know, he was a Don Donna, I was his little boy. However, when he died, and when he was dying, he sat and talked to me about what is it that he has left. Not the properties, not the women, not the cars, not the booze, not the money. Hopefully a legacy. With all the mistakes that he's made, with all the good things that he's made, the positive out of that is a legacy. Me and my sisters and my brother. So addressing failure, because when he left, or when he left us, you know, he died, we felt as a family we had failed him. But in reflection, actually, he had done what he was asked to do, which is raise us to the best of his ability, get us through school, first generation of people to go to university from his little village, from his town, you know. So failure is just it was a measurable thing at that time. But you then sit back and look at the bigger picture. Again, I don't want to go too existential about everything, but the bigger picture is, what do you want? You know, what do you want? When I was about 14, 15, I thought I was going to be a millionaire at 18. Didn't happen. I said I'd be a millionaire at 21. Didn't happen. Hello, not the end of the world, was it? No. You know, we're going through some dark times now, pandemic, you know, issues around equality and diversity, Black Lives Matter, Brexit, possible recession, SARS back in Nigeria, issues going around the world all the time, every time. Just got to sit back and ask yourself, where and what are you wanting to do to move yourself forward in order to thrive as opposed to survive? And failures just can help you do that. Measure them, understand them, and then don't repeat them.
Yes, that is, I guess, a crucial message there, because sometimes we can be, you know, on the same loop for a long time and do the same things. So hopefully we can get that, you know, time and space to reflect. So what I want to ask you is, if now we're in this kind of space, in this failure and this transition space of thinking about, you know, these times that we're in, how do you encourage people to want to make plans and to commit to goals? Because a lot of people are feeling like, well, it's a very uncertain time, and, you know, I feel like if I put my effort and my time into working towards this goal, the goalposts are going to change.
Yeah, it's very difficult. Even with everything I've said, it's still very difficult because you're scared of not succeeding or failing. So I've talked about how you can manage that process but it's still going to be there. So what I ask my clients or people I work with is to take incremental steps. Think of marginal gains. I cycle for a number of reasons. And I still follow cyclists in Sky. So Dave Bracefield had this idea of what would we do if we looked at every part of a bicycle and every part that a person plays in that bicycle and every part the back team does for that person and increase it by 1%. Just improve it by 1%. And the returns were phenomenal. So when you have a goal, don't try to be transformational and do it all in one fell swoop. Attack it incrementally so that you get a buzz out of the successes you make. You get time to reflect on the mistakes or failures you encounter, improve on them to move forward. So it is about setting a goal, but realize, the great GROW model that we use in coaching, goal, resource, option, willness. Yeah, that is powerfully important because set that goal, because otherwise, and then take action, because it's just a dream or a goal. You take the action, and I really believe in the incremental steps. One of my taglines is strategic business success. Strategic because in life, I've been able to, on reflection, take a helicopter view. Wow, that's what I've done. Wow, that's where I've been. Wow, that's where I want to go. And then turn that journey into success by planning, not doing it all at one fell swoop. Some of the pits you take can be a bit bigger because you've got experience in doing it. You work out your collaborations, you work out your marketing, you work out your, I'm talking about business here, you work out your lead generation, your tunnels and stuff. Tunnels, yeah. But what I'm talking about is just thinking about it in that moment, turning that into success, then moving on, turning into success, then moving on. Then you get to a goal. I did say that you won't be able to run a marathon tomorrow. I reckon a couple of people in the world probably can do it. But what they do, from what I hear about marathon runners, is 5K, 10K, 15K, 20K over a period of time. Very rarely do they knock out the full marathon before they run the marathon. Very rarely. They build up to it so that when they're there, boom. And then they have that growth mindset that is born about having a goal, having a desire, having a drive to get there. It doesn't work for everyone. Some people just want to take as much as they can, but they've got that inner ability to do that. But even them taking as much as they can is still an incremental step compared to somebody else's. Does that make sense? So it's about how you chop up your goal. You've got your big goal, how you break it down into small steps to get to that big goal is what I encourage through my coaching, is to understand that in growing your mind, take it a step at a time, the steps that you're comfortable with, the steps that make you confident, the steps that you're able to manage and then deal with to move forward. That's what I do in getting someone to have a growth mindset and overcome their fears or failures.
Nice. Well, this leads neatly into how do you keep yourself learning, when you have a tough day?
Okay, I'll tell you what I do. I read loads and loads and loads of books. Right. That's what I do. No, that's not all I do. I'm lucky. I'm so fortunate, 3 beautiful boys, age 8, 6, and 6. One of the reasons I took on what I do now is to be with them. It's going to be hard for mixed heritage kids to get on in life. I say it as it is. I'm not going to be PC about it. It's going to be difficult. And in order for them to get the best out of what the world can offer, I want to support them. I want to be there, coach them, mentor them. So I take them to school. We have a laugh. I bring them home from school. We have less of a laugh. But, it keeps me ticking. I've got a beautiful partner, ups and downs, as you do. But we've been together 17 years. And so, it's nice. Lovely mum, unbelievable strength, great sisters, great friends, great foes as well, great enemies. There's that saying, keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. All day, works all day, and you learn through that because actually that's what keeps you on the straight and narrow, keeps you ticking over. What else keeps me going? I ride a bike, I walk, I do a lot of walking, 10 miles a day if I can, take the boys to school, extended walk. And I don't fret as much as I used to. That's probably the biggest one. Not fretting as much as you. You know that witching hour, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning? Notebook at the side. Nah. If it ain't gonna happen, it ain't gonna happen. Simples. If you want to make it happen, you'll make it happen. Unless it doesn't happen. I know that sounds a bit blasé, but that is how it works. It's there's things you could do in between of that, things you could do around that, but I don't fret as much as I used to. The competition is not there anymore. I used to be a Jack the Lad, look the part, give it the big one. It's too much of my brain that will take over right now. You know, there's other things to think about and do. I've got a good network of friends. WhatsApp, Zooming now because we can't see each other. I love sports. If I could pick up this contraption I'm talking to you on, show you the books I read around sports, autobiographies, history. I love history. I'm watching a really great documentary about the birth of Nigeria. We're watching another documentary about the birth of USA. I love all that stuff. And yeah, I used to be a party animal. Can't deny that. Partied hard, worked hard, and I partied hard. Known to have partied hard. Nothing wrong with that, as long as it was balanced. So to answer your question about babbling on, got a nice work-life balance. That's the buzzword they use, don't they? Nice work-life balance. Yeah,
well, no, I enjoyed that exploration of Bayo's mind there on what makes him tick. It was great. It was great. Okay, before we get to the final question, I'm going to ask you more so that people can be clear and understand. So, Bayo, who do you like really work with? And you know how is it particular kinds of people?
I know. You've told me off about this before.
Yes, come on.
Ask the question. Ask the question.
No, so Bayo, like for everyone out there, you know, if they were inspired by what you've said so far, and they want to know, is Bayo the person I should come to if I am a leader, if I am a business person, if I am just an intern, what is Bayo? Who does Bayo work with mainly?
I've got a very good colleague now who I used to network with, and I've coached over a period of time. He's a marketing expert, really, into growth. And when I worked with him, he said, "Wow, boom, unbelievable, so cynical." But I've tended not to have a niche, you know. So I'm going to ask you a question by giving you 3 examples of the most 3 people I've worked with recently.
That works, great, go for it.
So there's this marketing branding expert who used to be a art director, creative director for a number of the big newspapers. Then he went solo as his own business person. So he was referred to me, and I started to work with him about gaining clarity, taking that jump from having his salaried money in his bank account every month to going it alone. What does that involve? The networking, getting an accountant, getting leads, generating leads, turning leads into customers, all of that stuff that was bogging his mind. I worked with him to gain clarity.
Brilliant.
Once he understood that, then I worked with him about the fundamentals about business management. You know, your rate of investment must be equal to or let your rate of return be more. So it's all that fundamental about it. So that was with him. I've worked with an author, a writer of a book who had writer's block.
Okay.
Came to me and said, "I've heard you're working with a couple of people. Just interested with what you say. You take people from A to B, get them clarity. How could that help me?" 6 months working with him, monthly basis, looking at why, how, what was stopping him, limiting beliefs, not having a strategy, not having a plan. He's now written a book, which is Selling Fast. And he wrote a nice little acknowledgement for me in the back page, which was nice. But I suppose my bread and butter are twofold. The professional services, because of my past working in social housing, from executive directors to team leaders, I know the journey, I know the obstacles, the realisms, the isms, the real, imagined, and perceived, and what they might need to overcome to gain clarity to get to where they want to get to, if they want to be promoted, or if they're there in a position they can't lead, they don't know about management, and they're finding stuff tricky. that's, you know, I love that. I love working with people like that. But I also work with small businesses, particularly solo business owners, like our good sales, who, like the creative I've described, are drowning or finding it difficult, particularly in this period of time, to find clarity, to find direction and or their vision and values. And so with a couple of, you know, coaching things, NLP things, CBT things, but most importantly, knowledge and experience and the ability to listen and ask hard questions, we generally get from A to B. Now for the viewers, they're going to say, does that include me? Well, I'll say this. Ask yourself, are you where you want to be today? Would you want to be somewhere else tomorrow? And what plan have you got in place to get executed? If you haven't got, if your answer is negative to all the above, give me a buzz, you know, give me a buzz. And some people, as you know, they're sort of put off by this coaching thing because it's up there.
Yeah.
It is for some. Tony Robbins and co. Crack on. Crack on. You know, but I am working with people that are the same ilk of me. As you know, I work, I'm doing a networking thing called Federation of Small Businesses, Connect Lewisham. These are small micro business owners who are just, you know, trying to turn a leaf, a hustle basically, but want support and understanding of how to do it to the best of their ability. That's where I can come in. So if your viewers are saying, okay, Bayo, you talk well, you talk a lot, but what would I do for you? It's not what I would do for you. It's what do you want to do for yourself? Because that's fundamentally what coaches are about. Elicit, support the journey within. A consultant might do it for you, an advisor might tell you how to do it, but a good coach, a pure coach, will help you do what you want to do.
Definitely. Okay, now we come to the final question. Can you believe this, Bayo? The time has gone so quickly.
It's good. I've missed the Channel 4 news today, but that's good.
Hey.
It's not good news today. To be fair.
Fair enough.
What's the last question?
Okay, so the last question is...
breath.
Yeah, I know, right? It's not a hard one. No, thank you so much for being on the show. Now we really want to know, you know, what's coming up for you and how can people get in touch?
Yeah, so really, my coach always has a go at me about this. Your call to action. Where is it? What is it? So you'll share my socials and my things and pictures, my email address, my socials. QA will do that. But you know, I'm at the end of a telephone. I'm at the end of an email. I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a good place to find me. Actually, you can see my backstory and you can work out whether what I was saying was true. You see it all in there. But yeah, they're all there. But what I am doing at the moment, and you know this yourself, is some people are just finding it hard to make that first step. So I'm doing something called a kind of a taster session, calling it a power hour, where I will sit with an individual and work with them as a coach for a solid hour. And that will involve using certain coaching principles, primarily the GROW model. And with that, we will then work out an action plan for them to undertake, or think about at least. And then I'll give them an accountability call in a couple of weeks or 4 weeks, which is whatever's agreed, to just see where they've got with this plan of theirs. How has it landed? Has it resonated with them? Is it something that they knew at the time they were with me, they were really invigorated of doing, or is it just gone? And that's where the accountability call comes in. Hi, Ekua, you said you're going to do boom, 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 boom. How have you got on? What was good for you? What didn't work for you? What would you do differently? What would you do better? As simple as that. And then they'll say to themselves, well, Bayo, boom, 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 I'm off. Or Bayo, The thing about it is, it's just an entry-level coaching session that will enable them to see whether coaching is good for them. But more importantly, are they prepared to take action? Are they prepared to see their dreams turn into reality? If they're interested, go to my socials and you'll see the details there.
Okay, so Bayo, I have to ask you one question that people might be asking. They were like, Bayo, this sounds really great, but what preparation do I need to be involved in this power hour? Because it's only an hour.
Yeah. What?
Preparation.
What did you say? What
preparation? Like, what do I need to do in advance?
We have a pre-call. It's where do you want to get to? It's yours. It's your power hour. Do you want, so for example, the individuals I've had today is, Bayo, I'm struggling in distance management. You know, I've got distant management. Everyone's on Zoom. Don't know how to do it. I don't know what to do. What can I do? So we go through what and how, what they need to do. They have an action plan, which I come back and see how they've executed it, really. So it's about where they want to go. What's their goal? I'm not going to determine a goal for them. It may be that they just need to have clarity in certain areas of their business. It may be they need to have clarity around their leadership skills or none, their management skills or none, or their team working, interpersonal skills or none. And as a coach, I will be able to help them elicit what they think is good, what they think is bad, and an action plan to execute it moving forward. Hope that answers your question. Thank you.
Yes, that does. I think that because sometimes if you're new to coaching, you might think, oh, do I have to have like it only be these kinds of issues, or do I have to like, spend like an hour writing a 5-page essay about what my issue is?
It's going to be involved during a 1 hour session, for sure. It's going to be involved during a 1 hour session, but it's not something that you need to over plan. You need to bring yourself and say to yourself, okay, if he's worth his pinch of salt, let me throw this at him. And then I will help you work out whether that pinch of salt is worth your while. You go off, I'll ring you in a couple of weeks or 4. Did you do it? Yes, I did. Didn't you do it? Let's work out why. But equally, is this something that rocks your boat? Would you be interested in having a longer term coaching session for a bigger project, a bigger goal that we can work together to deliver? That's what I say. It's a taster kind of pseudo entry point. What you haven't asked me is how much does it cost? Well, it's $149 for the power hour and then an additional accountability call. So what happens is we have a pre-call, you ring me up, we talk about what it is, and I'll talk about how it can help. Then we set the power hour, we have an hour of a discussion using specific coaching models for you to then have an action plan for you to execute. And then we agree, do I come back to you in 2 weeks or 4 weeks? Come back for the accountability call, 15 minutes. How did it go? What did you do? Why didn't you do? Blah, blah, blah. And then you say to yourself, that worked. That didn't work. I could do with some more.
Okay. Now, before we close it up, I have to ask, can you leave us with one Bayoism before we close up this session? Something that people think about when they speak to you and they're like, yeah, he says it often. Like every time like I ask him, like I'm getting coached or mentored, like he's like, this is the phrase that comes. This is the phrase. This is the Bayo phrase. What is it?
The Bayo phrase is actually be lucky.
Okay.
But you're more than that.
Come on. Sure. You can give me more.
A little bit more than that.
Yeah.
Okay. What I say to people, and I'm going to have to look it up because I want to say it right. What I say to people. Because
I know you have one. I have one too.
So generally what I've said today is this. You learn from your past to plan for the future, then live in the present to control the controllable, but celebrate success. So let me read that again. You learn from the past to plan for the future in order to live in the present, to control the controllable, then celebrate success. That is where, or the journey I have been on since day dot. Picking up the pieces, learning from them, putting them together, realizing that you can only control the controllable. But if I have success, boy, do I celebrate, because that gives me the gumption to do it again and again and again, to overcome the failures, to overcome the mistakes, to overcome the risk adversity, to overcome my limiting beliefs. Celebrate, celebrate, celebrate. Little pat on the tap back, little run, a little more time with my kids, a little more time with my missus, whatever it is. Because after this interview, I'm buzzing. This has been great. I'm loving it. So I'm going to go downstairs, see the kids, have a laugh, feel happy. And that's my celebration of success, because I think it's been a very successful interview. You've been a great interviewer. I've enjoyed it. I'm going to celebrate on it. Why not?
Oh, amazing, Bayo. Like, I love that you just ended, with one of my isms. I'm like, yes, celebrate your own success. Do it now, I'm proud. Yes, that is right. That was beautiful.
So what's your saying?
Gosh, what am I saying now? Oh, yeah, my saying is be bold, be brave, back yourself, and be an number one cheerleader. That is my phrase. I want you to have the courage to put yourself out there. You have the courage to back yourself, and I want you the courage to know that you should praise yourself when you do well. There's nothing shameful about that.
There's nothing at all. And you've got to celebrate success, because when I used to be a manager in housing, and I used to do interviews and get people, I used to say to them, you know, you do your one-to-ones and your appraisals and your stuff. And I said, so what have you done? And they never used to bring anything. I was coming, you've done lots of stuff. I was going, right, next time in your Outlook, just put in your Outlook, and put in an inbox, put achievements. So whenever you get an email, whenever you get a message, whenever I've sent you something to say, well done, that was great, internally, externally, stick that into that inbox. And then the next time you have a one-to-one with me or an appraisal, just bring that inbox and just say, that's what I've done. And then celebrate the life out of it. That's how I used to manage, coach, or lead my teams. Because it's sometimes very hard to accept that you've done a good job. In housing, it was particularly hard. Oh, that's what I do anyway. So what? Celebrate it. Because if you're not going to celebrate it, who is? You've got a KPI to meet. You've got a stat to meet. You've got a report to write. You've got a meeting to attend. You've got an evening meeting to attend. You've got the leaders of the council, the directors, the executive directors. You've got tenants and residents, partners and police. Very rarely do they say, well done. But you know yourself, if you do get that well done, cherish it, celebrate it, because that's your fuel for you to move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I could not have said it better myself. So on that high note, let us end this and say thank you so much. It's been brilliant. It's been high energy. We've learned so much, and what a fascinating story. I can't wait for this to be replayed and replayed and replayed because it was very inspirational. Because people need to know that it's not a straight path. It's ups and downs, and in accepting all of the warts and all, even as I say in my book, like some of the failures, I was, devastated by it, but I accept that, and I've, have moved on, and I've realized what was good and what was bad, and I've come to a place where I'm now just, walking a new path and keep growing and keep learning. So, without further ado, Bayo, thank you so much, and
Thank you, Akua.
Take care and speak soon.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Good night.